Welcome back to the back aisle of the rental store. If you missed part 1, we took a deep dive into the peephole era, from the box office explosion of Porky's to the absolute emotional gut punch that was The Last American Virgin, but we were just getting warmed up. If part 1 was about the awkward curiosity of high school, part 2 is about the absolute chaos of the 80s adult world, or at least what we thought the adult world looked like. We're talking about the movies that featured legendary actors before they became serious Oscar winners. We're talking about the films that glorified the Bachelor Party and the beach resort as the ultimate playgrounds of poor decisions. We've got a pre-Oscar Tom Hanks, a baby-faced Johnny Depp, and a movie about a summer camp that would probably be labeled a domestic terror threat today. So, check the tracking on your VCR, keep the volume low so your wife doesn't think you've lost your mind. And let's dive into the rest of the forbidden 80s vault. Bachelor Party, 1984. Tom Hanks before he was good. Long before he was Forrest Gump or the voice of Sheriff Woody, Tom Hanks was Rick Gasco. And Rick Gasco was a man who drove a school bus and was about to have a night that would make a modern HR department faint. Released in 1984, Bachelor Party is the gold standard for unfiltered 80s chaos. Why does this movie stand out? Because of the sheer, unbridled energy Tom Hanks brings to the role. This isn't the America's Dad, Tom Hanks. This is the wild-eyed, fast-talking, slightly manic comedian who thrived on physical comedy. The movie captures the ultimate male anxiety of the 80s. Is my life over once I say I do? The answer, according to this film, is to have a party so destructive that a donkey actually dies of a drug overdose in a hotel elevator. Think about that for a second. That scene, along with the razor blade suicide prank and the sheer amount of casual nudity, is exactly why this movie lived in the top shelf of the rental store. It represents a brand of humor that was aggressive, loud, and totally unapologetic. It's a time capsule of an era where a bachelor party wasn't just a night out, it was a war zone. If you haven't seen Rick Gasco deal with his future father-in-law's tennis match, you haven't lived. Private Resort, 1985. Johnny Depp's sun-soaked shame. Every legend has a skeleton in the closet. For Johnny Depp, that skeleton is wearing a Hawaiian shirt and a very questionable 80s haircut. Released in 1985, Private Resort was the third film in the unofficial Private trilogy, following Private Lessons and Private School. Johnny Depp and Rob Morrow play two guys who sneak into a high-end Miami resort to, well, hunt for wealthy women. It is a movie that is 10% plot and 90% chasing bikinis through hotel lobbies. Looking at Depp here, you can see he's clearly uncomfortable. He's a serious actor caught in a fluff machine. But that's what makes it so fascinating to watch now. It was the peak of the resort comedy subgenre, a fantasy for every blue-collar kid who thought a fancy hotel was the gateway to a different world. The film is notoriously goofy, featuring a jewel thief subplot that feels like it belongs in a different movie entirely. But for Gen X, it was about the scenery. It captured that Miami Vice meets B-movie aesthetic perfectly. Depp has famously distanced himself from the film, but we'll never forget the image of Captain Jack Sparrow trying to act cool while hiding in a hotel laundry cart. Revenge of Nerds, 1984. The most controversial win. We need to talk about the nerds. On the surface, Revenge of the Nerds is the ultimate underdog story. It's the smart kids taking on the jocks. It's the junkyard cool of the 80s applied to fraternity life. But if you look at this movie with 2026 eyes, it is, to put it mildly, insane. We're talking about the panty raid. We're talking about the nerds installing hidden cameras in a sorority house. And then there's the big one. Lewis disguised as Stan in the Darth Vader mask to sleep with Betty. In 1984, this was played as a victory for the nerds. Today, it's a legal textbook on what not to do. But despite the controversy, why do we still remember it? Because it hit the nerd nerve. It spoke to the kid who felt invisible in high school. It used raunchy humor as a weapon against the alpha culture of the 80s. It was crude, it was questionable, but it gave a voice to the outcasts, even if that voice was occasionally wearing a pocket protector and doing something highly illegal. It's a movie that perfectly encapsulates the anything-goes attitude of the mid-80s comedy. Hardbodies, 1984, the California Dream Catalog. If you wanted to know what California looked like in 1984 through the eyes of a hormone-crazed teenager, you didn't look at a map, you watched Hardbodies. This movie has a premise so 80s, it hurts. 3 middle-aged guys hire a young surfer to teach them how to score on the beach. It's essentially a how-to guide for the midlife crisis of the 20th century. Hardbodies doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about tanning oil and synth pop. It's a visual catalog of the fitness craze that was sweeping the nation. It was shot on location at Venice Beach, and it captures that raw, sun-soaked energy perfectly. It's not film noir, it's film neon. There's no subtext here. The title tells you exactly what you're getting. It's the cinematic equivalent of a Playboy centerfold come to life. Critics slaughtered it, but for us, it was the ultimate summer escape. It reminded us that no matter how old you were, as long as you had a convertible and a surf lesson, you were still in the game. It's the kind of movie that makes you want to go buy a pair of neon swim trunks and immediately regret it. Reckless, 1984, The Raunchy Rebel. We end our journey with something a bit different. Reckless. Starring a young Aidan Quinn and Daryl Hannah, this movie was the 80s update of the bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks story. But it wasn't a clean-cut romance. It was fueled by a dark, rebellious energy and a soundtrack that sounded like a fever dream. This film captured the rebel-without-a-cause spirit, but added a level of sexual tension that was far beyond the 1950s. The scene where they sneak into the high school at night and start a fire in the boiler room, that wasn't just a raunchy moment. It was a symbolic destruction of the institutions that were trying to hold them back. Reckless wasn't a comedy, but it belongs on this list because of how it handled its mature themes. It was raw, it was aggressive, and it treated teenage desire like a high-voltage wire. It's the cooler, darker cousin of the teen sex comedy. If Porky's was about the joke, Reckless was about the fire. It remains one of the most underrated gems of the decade, a movie that proved you could have Hardbodies and heart at the exact same time. So, why do we still talk about these movies? Is it just about the bikinis and the bad jokes? No. It's about a time when movies felt like they were made with duct tape and grit. These films were the Wild West of cinema. They were politically incorrect, loud, and often totally absurd, but they had a soul that modern, algorithm-driven comedies completely lack. We rented these tapes until they wore out. We watched them in wood-paneled basements and argued about which angel or genie was the ultimate icon. They are a part of our Gen X DNA. They represent the freedom of an analog world that is slowly disappearing. Which one of these was your forbidden favorite? Did you have Bachelor Party hidden under your bed? Or was Revenge of the Nerds your Friday night staple? Drop a comment below and let's build the ultimate 80s raunchy playlist. Smash that like button, subscribe to the Gen X Nostalgia Network, and stay groovy. We'll see you in the next decade.